The Church in the Wildwood. For reference, I'm a 40-something-year-old male from the South. What happened to me yesterday and the past 4 Sundays has my whole belief system turned upside down. I'm a Southern Baptist Christian, and this is the story that happened to me starting 4 weeks ago. I do overnight security part-time on the weekends. Everything was going normal until 3 hours before I got off. So at 5 o'clock Sunday morning, the phone rang. It's the guy who relieves me at 7 every weekend morning. I'll call him Todd. Todd said, "Hey bud, I'm gonna be a couple hours late this morning. Got car trouble." I said, "Okay, just get here as soon as you can, please." Now this just threw my day all apart. I knew I wouldn't have time to make it to the church on time. I normally like to go home, take a shower, change clothes. I work an hour and a half from where I live, so it takes about another 30 minutes to get to my church. It's okay. I'll just go to the night service, I thought. Well, Todd showed up, just like he said. I left work to go home, and about 4 miles from where I work, I saw a sign. To Christ Community Church, it said it was about 6 miles this way. The arrow was pointing left. So I thought, why not? Church is church, right? What I pulled up to was just jaw-dropping to me at the time. The church looked as if it was just built, and the parking lot looked as if it was just poured, with a small graveyard out back. I went in and enjoyed the service the pastor gave to me. I'll call him Paul. While everyone stayed where they were, which was weird to me and Pastor Paul talked like we were old friends for 15 minutes. He then stated he had a business meeting this morning and asked me to come back next Sunday. The next Sunday I returned, and the church members were a lot more inviting this time. They would all gather around, shake my hand, and ask if I was going to join them. This would keep happening till today I saw my pastor. He called me in the morning and asked if we could meet for lunch. My actual pastor, who I'll name Gary, said, "We missed you in church. Is everything alright?" After he asked me that, I broke down and told Gary everything. The look I got was so surprising. Gary said, "We can't keep you if you decide to go to another church. But you haven't been going to Christ Community Church." I said, "Yeah, I have. They're really good to me there, and I'm not leaving my church for them, I'm just visiting." Gary said, "It's impossible for you to go to that church. An earthquake happened, and a sinkhole opened up and killed all of them there in 1908. The Shadow Man. I live in Western Ohio, and this happened about 3 years ago in an old house in the middle of the country. I usually deal with hearing noises in the middle of the night and feel like somebody's watching me. But this time it was different. I woke up in the middle of the night, checking my phone, 3:34 a.m. I turned my phone off and started to wonder why I'd woken up, when I noticed a pair of eyes in my slightly opened closet. I thought it was my brother screwing with me, so I shouted his name, expecting laughter, but I got no reply. I shouted louder, but again, no reply. Eventually it got too loud, and my mom came in all angry. When I explained, she said my brother was in his room, playing video games. My heart dropped, but I played it off as being tired and hallucinating. So after she left, I rolled over, facing my wall. But as soon as I did that, I heard my closet door swing open and something run out of my room. I was terrified, and I was very scared. So I ran after it, following the noise at the end of the hallway, when it disappeared into thin air. It was just gone. I went back to my room, and I never saw the eyes again or heard anything like that. It was like all the paranormal experiences just stopped. But all in all, I'm happy I'll never see it again. I just hope this thing doesn't cross over the path of anyone else. An eerie encounter. I may not be an expert of any kind, but I believe there's more to this world than we humans can hope to understand. I've always had a very fine-tuned sense for what I believe to be unexplainable things. Moments where I feel something I can't quite explain with any rationality. Later in life, I would be told that what I have is some sort of weak physic or supernatural energy by a Wiccan witch. Nothing too impressive, but just enough to let me feel those entities even when I can't see them, like the ghost in my grandparents' guest room or the malicious entity haunting the stairs. The same uncanny sixth sense that my mom observed when my younger brother was born, stronger than her own maternal sense to the point I understood when my brother needed something before he even knew. But I feel there may be something more to it than that, as this incident leads me to believe. My family had recently moved to British Columbia, Canada that winter. I was 10 at that time. By no means were we in the boonies, but we moved into an older trailer near a well-known hiking trail and a small Christmas tree farm. Immediately, there was something off about this area. Something that my parents waved off as a new home anxiety or just not being used to it. I did my best to pull it out of my mind, but within 2 weeks of the move, I began to notice strange happenings. Firstly, the unsettling aura that I just couldn't shake. Sleepless nights where I felt like I was being watched by something at my window. Strange shadows, there 1 second, gone the next. Soft, whispering voices, only when I was in my room alone, near the window. However, whenever these incidents happened, soon after I would feel something brushing against my shins and ankles, something that lessened the aura, at least for a while. These instances would be near constant until I struck out on my own 8 years later. But it all came to a head that fall, months after the move. My parents insisted we take a family walk on the mountain trail, and though I didn't want to because by no means am I an outdoors man, something in me screamed not to go, that it was dangerous. But being barely 11, of course my parents completely dismissed my concerns as being lazy, and we were off to the trail's main entrance. As soon as I set foot out of the car, the warning bells in my head were blaring louder. Something in me kept saying we had to leave, that something bad was going to happen. The little voice in my head kept focusing on my diabetic mom, who at the time had a weight problem. Dad with his disability that made him outright unable to run. My bad lungs would make it impossible to run myself. The three of us were sitting ducks. I don't know why I was so hyper-focused on running, or on needing to get away really. We were halfway through the walk when suddenly I froze. The apprehension I'd felt about the whole event ramped up to 11. My parents thought I stopped because I was tired and took the opportunity to take pictures of lovely fall leaves and sunlight. It was a gorgeous sight, but I knew there was something there, watching us, and it was not something we wanted to meet. I looked around, trying to find whatever was setting me off. All I saw was an occasional fleeting shadow. I could feel the brushing, but the feeling of dread and fear only got stronger. The familiar touch, unable to drive it away as it normally would. Whatever it was close. If it came at us, we wouldn't stand a chance, and I still didn't know what the hell it was. My parents still hadn't noticed something was wrong, and I felt my voice catch in my throat, not out of fear, but as if something wasn't letting me speak. I heard the leaves rustle. It was close, so close. I glanced where the noise was coming from and saw a shadow for a split second before it vanished behind the tree. And as it vanished, something changed. Hot. It felt like a volcano had erupted in my chest. Not like the slow, gentle ooze one might see in Hawaii, but explosive, angry, spewing burning clouds of toxic gas and ash. I was still afraid, but I wasn't frozen. I was angry, eyes locked on the area I'd seen the shadow. I was no stranger to anger, as I'm an aggressive woman and always have been, but this rage was entirely new. The feeling against my leg stopped, but the fire was burning hotter. And that thing, the dangerous thing hiding just outside my field of view, I felt it lock up in fear all on its own. It felt like my body was controlled by something else. Still me, but different. I convinced my parents to pick up the pace, practically speed walking the rest of the loop, not daring to let the fire sparked in my chest die until we were safely back at the car. The strange presence lingered, much farther off, but still watching, still malicious, but almost curious now. We left the trail and never went back. A few weeks later, my mom found out she was having my brother. As time passed, the whole incident kept nagging at my mind, and I found myself doing research from time to time to try and piece together what happened. I think I was protecting my brother. As I stated earlier, I've always had an unexplainable connection to him despite being so much older and a terrifyingly vicious protective streak. When this happened, my mom would have been a month or so into her pregnancy. I think that whatever was in me allowed me to feel these presences clearly. I was so immediately focused on me getting away with my mom and dad, and with myself as an afterthought. As ridiculous as I feel saying it, I believe I was a guardian angel of sorts, or more accurately, my protective, long-dead childhood cat, keeping up his station, even in death. The brushing feeling was identical to the feel of a cat weaving around your legs, and only stopped entirely when I moved out and got my own kitten. What that fire is, I may never know, but I know for a fact it's what kept that thing away at the time. But what was that thing? I believed it was a Wendigo or maybe a Skinwalker, and I believed it was hunting me and continuing to hunt me since we moved to that town. The voices, the feeling of being watched, the fear of fire, I can't believe it was anything but. While I know the creatures will stalk their desired prey for a long time, that thing always comes back whenever I visit my family. Regardless of what it is, Wendigo or otherwise, it's fixated on me. It seems I'm safe as long as I have this fire, at least from it. But I wonder why after so many years, it still follows me whenever I enter that territory. Remembering that feeling of malice, I pray I never have to find out.